Streaming.
Hello. Welcome, everyone, to Streaming Tuesdays with Marian Diaz and
Carly Swenson.
Awesome. It's great to be here again. We're just really pleased again to be able to be doing this. And last week we were sharing about awareness and coming into awareness and consciousness. And so for this week we chose the theme of stillness.
Yep. We figured it built on the idea of consciousness, kind of building our basic spiritual principles from easy building blocks.
Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you, I can use some stillness right now. How many for you? Throw it in the chat.
Yep.
Has this been a morning or a few hours before you watch this of
few
craziness
years,
where you
know.
feel like you just need that stillness?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Be center.
for sure.
Yeah. So again, we're excited to have you here, and just throw up anything in the comments. We'd love to hear feedback from you. So I'll just say a little bit, especially building on what we were talking about last week in terms of coming into the awareness around what's going on outside of you and then what's also going on inside of you. Stillness can be a really helpful part of that. And you might find yourself, depending on your situation in life, getting to the point where you can have activity and busyness and all these things going around on outside of you, but yet inside there can be this inner stillness and this inner, that I call your safest space, that can provide that for you. And just having that little touch of awareness can be enough to center.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I found that's huge. I know before I kind of got into meditation and appreciating stillness, I know I avoided it a lot. Like, I'm kind of more of a people-pleasy person, and I know it's important to be productive and everything, and so all of that kind of took precedent, and I just felt either guilty or lazy or shame or any of that. And now that I understand that value of nurturing and keeping that sort of internal calm despite everything that's out there, it's huge. And it's so, you don't realize the gravity that can help. I mean, like, to create a safe space within your body and within your sense of self, until you kind of take those little moments to just be compassionate with yourself and let yourself know, like, no, you are worth a few minutes of stillness. You are worth taking that time to reflect and just be, because you don't owe all of your time to everything else. Like, you exist to some extent for you, and just loving yourself enough to allow that stillness into yourself has been life-changing for me, at least. So
That's awesome. That's great. Yeah. And I would just also say too, depending on like your age when you're encountering this video or what you may or may not have had different experiences of stillness or silence that can be kind of scary, or it could be off-putting. Because sometimes, when we go into interior silence, we do have to sort of confront what's going on inside of us, which may be pleasant or not so pleasant. So there might be interior voices that could be scary, and we'll work, I think, through themes around building that safe space inside you. But it's also recognizing that in different cultures and different family dynamics, some people use silence as a punishment, right? So silence can be a way of oppressing and repressing and rejecting people as well.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought of it that way, but that could even also kind of bring up reminders if that's something that you hadn't even thought of. I know one thing to keep in mind that was really helpful for me when I started with silence and calm and meditation was just the reminder that, like, thoughts happen and thoughts will occur. You think. We spend so much of our time thinking, like, of course they're going to go through, and just meeting those with like, oh, hello. Okay, well, thank you for showing up. You know your way around. You can go play for a bit. I'll deal with you later. Like, you'll have your time. Right now it's me time, and just that added gentleness of like welcoming myself back when my mind gets distracted, or
Mhm.
welcoming myself back to my breath. And just knowing that like you're not trying to stop thinking, you're just trying to allow and let it kind of move in and out.
Mhm. Yeah, so we are going to spend about 3 minutes in silence and stillness today, but why don't we just start by, if depending on your practice and what your preferences are around this, some people do like to do what Carly mentioned around focusing on their breath. Sometimes people choose a word to focus on. So if they notice they're getting distracted or not sensing what's going on in their body or feeling like these thoughts are running about the to-do list, you could choose the word. So you could choose still or stillness, or you could choose release, maybe like, okay, release, just let that go, or relax, if it's something more physical. But it's also, I would just say, don't offer resistance. And just let whatever happens happen, because that's where you are now. You are a completely full, capable, creative, complete person, and you're going into yourself for this experience. So, do you want to add anything?
No, I think that's great.
Great. So, just everybody shift around if you need to get comfortable. I am I'll ring our nice little crystal bowl here as we're starting, and then I'll also use that to call you out. So just get comfortable. Again, as I was talking about the physical awareness, do what you need to do, whatever in physical position you prefer, how you get comfortable. If there's a certain part that's achy, give it some extra support. Yeah, I was lifting yesterday, so I'm a little bit sore up here. I don't know.
Yeah, that's not like some arm
Yeah,
stuff.
like a little bit of shoulder stuff going on. But just make yourself comfortable, and we'll start off with just a little deep breath. Inhale and exhale. Start to feel that release physically in your body. welcome back. I hope that was an experience for you where you were able to grow in your awareness. How was it for you,
I
Carly?
hope that was an experience for you. I think by default it was. No, it's good. It is a little strange to be like, well, I normally sit cross-legged, and I just didn't want to for this.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And so that was a bit. I'm like, I think this is comfortable. And it is. Yeah, it was fine. No, I actually, I needed that. I do feel calmer, just from. I love that this is my job. But like this kind of stuff, and it's important, and we get to, talk about it and actively engage and demonstrate in these kind of things, and that feels really important. And so that's where I am. I feel better.
If you want to, did you do a focus? Do you typically do a focus point, or like what did you do this time?
For this, because I'm not as accustomed to the meditation on this side of the camera. For me, it was more just kind of breath and just kind of being with my breath. Sometimes I do really like envisioning roots and feeling the weight of my body and like feeling it kind of rooted into the earth and kind of focusing
the grounding
in that way.
Energy kind of.
And then,
I love that idea.
Kind of viscerally, thinking of the dirt and all that kind of thing. So that's usually my go-to is just kind of weight in the body and breath. If I'm not being guided or I don't really have a word yet. But I know that can be a very beneficial thing too, where it just kind of takes over and sort of becomes beautifully meaningless in a way when you are just repeating words.
That's
what
great.
about you? What did you find?
Well, I found too. I completely needed this. I knew I needed it, and it was great. And I actually, which I don't typically go to words or use words, but because of our morning, which was lovely in its own way and a gift.
Oh, for sure,
I was just, I don't know, I just felt, I do believe in God, and whatever that means might change from day to day, but I felt like I needed a word and something from beyond me. So I chose spirit. So spirit was the word I was using. And just feeling this extra energy from beyond coming through into me and running through and enabling me to be refreshed and energized. And it wasn't really a distraction, but actually at one point, I will have to say, during the meditation, I came to the awareness. So besides spirit, right, being a name that some people use for God, it was actually the name of my Irish setter. That was the dog love of my life. And so there was some feeling of his presence with me. He lived to be 14 and passed. And so I can just sort of feel, see him or feel, you know what I mean? Like, hey, Mom, it's great. You're great.
Well, there's that.
So it was really sweet, that double meaning, hit
for
my
sure.
heart.
Well, and I think dogs are just little balls of free love. And, there's something, even with that, if I'm doing, a loving kindness meditation where I kind of just think about when I get home and just that joy of that little white dog face. I mean, they're all happy, but and you can feel it. You can feel how excited just this other being is that you exist, and then just kind of trying to embody that sort of shared joy. So I love that. That's really beautiful.
Yeah, so that was the experience for me.
Nice.
Invite you to share in the chat, or after you go through this, what was the experience like for you? For some people, again, as we talked about, it might be uncomfortable or awkward. I mean, there's some awkwardness doing this in front of a camera, or, my typical position is lying down somewhere normally. So there can be just physical discomfort as well as what's going on inside of me. And so hopefully it's just that stillness allows that space for expansiveness to come, for acceptance of and allowing. Sometimes I guess we use the word in spirituality a lot of acceptance, but I think sometimes people take it as I have to say it's okay.
Yes.
And so sometimes I'll use the word more frequently, allowing. Just allow it. You don't have to have a judgment on it. You don't have to like it or not like it. but just allowing those feelings or those thoughts to be there can, come in a different way through either physical stillness or the more meditative, spiritual stillness.
I would also add, if you, if you have some trepidation or confusion when it comes to meditation, silence, stillness, feel free to put those in the comments. Or if you have suggestions of other kind of spiritual themes that you might like us to address or speak more on, we're happy to have those. This is a weekly thing. So, by all means, we want to, help cater to the interests and needs of our community. So please feel free to share those in the comments. That's my little button.
Awesome. Lovely. Thank you.
So,
Okay, we're going to bring it to a close now. And what I'll do is I'll ring our lovely crystal bowl again and then just leave you with stillness. And feel free to just hold this as long as you need it and as long as it's helpful for you.